The real agenda of educating black children.
From my perspective, having gone through the current education system, the education of black children is the it's not really a word, but de-education. In terms of teaching history that's ignorant of our traditions and our culture, as well as where some of the actual history started.
Wake up! Take the pillow from your
I know that
head
I learned a lot more about my culture and my heritage by going to the library and opening a book versus paying attention to our textbooks. Even now, working in education, if you open a textbook, half the history in there is either fake or it omits a very crucial part that would affect the worldview of the children that are learning the history, as well as just the way their personality be formed, because their understandings would be of a different nature. Even with me, ever since I was a kid, I was 14, and I told my mother and father that I wanted to be an artist, and that I wanted to at least do something with art. Now, I was told by multiple sources that would be, I'd starve for the rest of my life. I'd never have a stable income. I wouldn't be able to support a family and things like that. And I missed a lot of opportunities because of what I was made to believe, and it was mostly by people who didn't look like me. I ended up saying, I got to a point where I just stopped listening to what they were saying, and I went ahead and at 15, I was putting art on jeans and selling them. Didn't really understand business at that point. I just knew that I could sell my art. So I did it a couple of times, but then another caucus person, I don't know a way to say it other than white, talked me out of it, saying that it wasn't a sustainable business because I would have to employ other people, which I have no problem. If I start a company based on art and I eventually have to hire more artists because of the output of what I'm outputting, I don't care about that. I mean, art's meant to be experienced, and every interaction that you have with somebody changes the way your style forms. So for me, it would be an evolution of the company. But when you're a kid and you have these ideas, you're told you're not old enough to understand. You're not old enough to know how this is going to affect you and your life and other people's lives. And you should probably leave that to the adults, which used to piss me off. Because at home, I was told I had no limits. I was told that I could be anything I wanted to be. And I'm still working on it. I'm still trying. And I get closer every day. But I always have, even now, I still have that voice in the back of my head where they say, you can't do this because you're the area you grew up where may have an effect, a positive effect, but the industry's hard for people like you.
You should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God gave you.
And that got really real. It's hard to say it out loud because you think it all the time, but it's hard for it to actually come out. And I feel like in the education system, there aren't enough people, particularly in our culture, men or otherwise, saying what you're hearing, it's valid, but it isn't true. You're more than the sum of what someone makes you. And because right now in the media, even with some ways that we dress, it's we have to be a certain way. We are a certain way. We can only be these things. Even guidance counselors, when I was a kid and even now, are putting young black men in the slot of athlete or real estate or something that has to do with physical labor, construction. They're getting pushed towards the labor jobs that nobody wants to do anymore. Like one of my favorite lines from a show, American Gods, was said by Anansi, and he basically says there's a pipeline from the schools to the NFL where that's your only way of staying out of prison, being a black man. Because it's true. In a lot of cases, it's either that or the military. In a lot of the cases, in low-income neighborhoods, particularly in black communities, your only choice to get out is to either go to the military or double down on any education you can find to get away to a school where you can do the things you want to do and be the person you want to be. Even then, still you have to fall into that mold of that football organization. So if they don't want you to act a certain way, you can't act a certain way. You'll end up like Dominican Sue. He got traded how many times? I mean, the dude was violent, yeah, but he moved out of the mold of what that team wanted, and he got bounced around until I'm pretty sure he got kicked out. I might be wrong about that, not sure. But still, you don't hear about him anymore. Last time I heard about Sue was when he was in Florida, and that was just that he kicked a dude's helmet off. But you don't hear anything about what he's doing now. You don't hear anything about what his life is like because no one cares. Which, again, to be able to put somebody down to a point where you used to scream his name to the point where the stadium shook, where it vibrated, where people outside the stadium felt the vibration of people chanting your name, to because he's a brother. He might not completely look like a brother, but he's a brother. If it was Tom Brady, there would be a reality sitcom about his life if he got kicked out of the NFL. Because he's white. Because he is a national icon. Because he portrays what misinformation can do to an entire country. So, to bring it back, the education of black children is the de-education of black children. It's dumbing us down. You've got people in the generation before me and people in my generation who don't understand their history because either they were never taught it or they were never taught to care to look for it.
We all agree tonight, all of the speakers have agreed that America has a very serious problem. Not only does America have a very serious problem, but our people have a very serious problem. America's problem is us. We're her problem. The only reason she has a problem is she doesn't want us here. And every time you look at yourself, be you black, brown, red, or yellow, a so-called Negro, you represent a person who poses such a serious problem for America because you're not wanted. Once you face this as a fact, then you can start plotting a course that will make you appear intelligent instead of unintelligent. You don't catch hell because you're a Methodist or a Baptist. You don't catch hell because you're a Democrat or a Republican. You don't catch hell because you're a Mason or an Elk. And you sure don't catch hell because you're an American, because if you was an American, you wouldn't catch no hell. You catch hell because you're a black man. You catch hell, all of us catch hell for the same reason. So we are all black people, so-called Negroes, second-class citizens, ex-slaves. You are nothing but an ex-slave.
There's a saying that some of the people around me have gotten used to saying just about the education system is, it's not parents raising children. The people who are giving birth to these children are just the oldest ones in the house.
Damn!
And that is a terrible thing to be able to say and it be valid. Because there are parents that don't want to deal with having a kid. And at that point, I'm like, why are you having kids? Just you either get them cut or use protection. Because you're giving birth to kids who you don't care about, and in turn are going to create kids that they don't care about because they were never taught that you're supposed to.